This is the She Dares to Travel podcast, and I am your host, Raquel Pollock. After spending a decade managing the #1 travel agency in Canada, I am now here to connect you to women that are taking the travel industry by storm, as well as female business professionals that also have a passion for travel, just like me. We are here to inspire, uplift, and motivate you to not only follow, but plan out your dreams, no matter where in the world they may be. And of course, this wouldn't be possible without our sponsor, Staples Studio, where I am currently recording from. Check them out on their website, studio.staples.ca. It truly is a new approach to co-working with community at its heart. There's access to hot desks, meeting, and event spaces all across North America. So thank you, Staples Studio, for connecting us and sponsoring this podcast. And thank you for listening. Enjoy, be sure to subscribe, and follow along. Thank you to Hotel Z Kelowna, Victoria, and Tofino for being our sponsor. You can also save 15% off your next getaway using the code DARES2, DARES 2, the number 2, at hotelz.com. These funky and unique hotels are in British Columbia, and they're going to have you not wanting to leave while you're on your next vacation. Enjoy. Hello, all you daredevils. Raquel here, and today we are going to be chatting all about different travel tips that I have scoured the internet for to kind of talk through them and see how well they have or have not worked for me in the 37 countries that I have traveled to. Now, I am feeling a little, I don't even know the word. You know that kind of day where you're just kind of feeling a little spicy? Yeah, that's today. So I am here, you can see on YouTube, I am here sitting in my cozy bathrobe. I have my one of my favorite pair of heels on, the Vivacious by Steve Madden. They're covered in pink crystals. They're so much fun. And in honor of Halloween month, I also have my super creepy Halloween flute and a pure vodka soda, because why the hell not? So grab a drink, grab a coffee, whatever time it is. I'm not judging. You do you, boo. You do you. So let's talk about travel tips. The first one that I found was the recommendation to take the road less traveled. Now, this one I do agree. It is really important to actually get off the beaten path. You need to obviously go through some of the busier parts sometimes in order to get to the smaller ones. I agree with this. I agree with all these travel tips, but my biggest takeaway from this one reminds me of when I was in Japan and we were going through, I can't even remember the district, but it's a very big famous district square in Japan in Tokyo. And it is like the New York City of Japan, where it is flashing lights, huge billboards. I think Downtonbury it's coming to me as that area. And in all the hustle and bustle, as we were walking around through the sites, we ended up finding this moss covered temple that was so serene, so beautiful, so tiny. And if you weren't looking for it, which I sourced it out in advance, you totally would have missed it. So I agree with this one. Take the road less traveled. Great advice, Google. Thank you. Stay for more than 2 nights, actually, is what it says. Stay for more than 2 nights. I mean, I agree. It depends on the vacation you're trying to look for. If you're looking for something super active and you're trying to jam pack a ton of things into a week or two, especially if you're in Europe where countries are really close together, cities are really close together, you could do 1 night if you want, but you're going to be busy. You're going to be hella busy. So stay for more than 2 nights. I agree. If you're looking to settle down, experience the culture, want to go to local supermarkets to make your breakfast. Jay and I, we've traveled throughout the Caribbean quite a bit to many of the different islands. And one of my favorite trips was when we went to St. Martin and Anguilla, and we Airbnb'd the whole thing. We ended up spending a week in St. Martin, a week in Anguilla, and it was some of the most beautiful scenery. We rented a vehicle on both islands, and we ended up traveling every single day. There were some days we relaxed. We just walked down to the beach, but we made breakfast. Our thing is we love breakfast. So we make sure that when we are spending longer than 2 nights somewhere, we're at least making breakfasts or lunch or taking them before we explore. So yeah, great advice. Book your breakfast. So if you do want to eat breakfast all the time, like I do, can't get enough of it, book your breakfast through the hotel. So if you are staying in a larger hotel, when we were in Glasgow for on a tour, actually a Kentucky tour, that was actually super helpful because you'd wake up, you knew that breakfast was going until 7:30 or 8. So as long as you were down there before then, you'd be able to get buffet breakfast. Pros and cons of that. Pros, you've got your breakfast ready for you and you don't have to think about it. Con is you can't control what you're gonna get. So you get a little bit of some soggy, runny eggs. Gonna have to just suck it up and eat it. So yeah, pros and cons for that one. Use local transport or walk. This one is an interesting one. I agree. Using local transport is a great way to get around. Walking, I love to do. I will walk. Oh man, Jay and I were recently in, where did we just go to? We went to Cozumel in Mexico in March here of 2023, and it was fabulous. We ended up staying in like a timeshare kind of hotel, which was pretty cool. And we ended up going for a walk, and we really wanted to go to this restaurant that was more in town. And we're like, it can't be that far. We started walking and walking and walking in like 40-degree heat. And it turned out it was like a 40-minute walk in flip-flops. Not ideal, but we still made the best of it and enjoyed the walk. So I personally would prefer to walk. Local transport, I'm not really even a fan of back here at home. So if I can rent a car, if I can walk, those are my two important ones. Otherwise, I will taxi. However, when we were in Italy, we did take the local transport. Some little kid tried to steal something out of my purse. So, that was my experience. And I don't think I probably need to do local transport besides taxis. Yep. Next one, invest in a cultural pass that includes discounts on museums or entry to museums, attractions, and discounts throughout the area. I like this one. We've done this a lot, even in New York City, purchase some sort of cultural pass, or in Italy, in France, they all have them. And a lot of them will include the local transit. So you could pay one price to get discounts on a ton of attractions. So yeah, I think that's a great, great, great travel tip. The next one, eat street food. Yes, of course. I would say use your discretion as to what the street food looks like as to whether or not you want to eat it. Because there's street food like in Thailand when we were there, and you could be eating crickets and scorpions. So if you want to try that, go for it. If you don't, maybe steer clear. I remember in Bali, our driver in Bali, actually, he told us that the street food, he would not eat certain street foods, but some he would. If it was in like a street vending market where they do like a market in the evening, absolutely. Because a lot of those people are actually have their own restaurants, and then they come to the street market to do it, which is a cool fact. Then when we were kind of going to a temple in Bali, we pointed at him, we're like, well, what about that street food? He's like, oh, no. You don't want to eat that. Like, take a look at just how he's got everything set up. No, looks very dirty. Don't eat that. And we're like, okay, good to know. So pick and choose your street food. I always am down to try out something new on holidays. Why not? You're already there. You're in a new place. You're immersed in different culture and obviously different food. So absolutely, that's great. One regret actually I do have is in Thailand. I wish, and I researched this before, I think when I was working as a travel agent before, a client had told me that in Bangkok, there is this tiny little hole in the wall place that has lineups of people waiting outside for it, because it was a street vendor that now has kind of like a little kind of hole in the wall side shop. And they now are a Michelin star street vendor in Bangkok. And I Googled it, I had it ready to go, and we just didn't end up doing it. And that is for sure a regret. I would love to go do that one day. That is for damn sure. Now, the other one that's kind of the opposite from street food is recommended online. It says, don't eat out in a tourist area. This one comes in two folds. Chances are, if you're you're traveling, so you're going to be in a tourist area. So how are you supposed to find the places not to eat? And Italy is a big one. So I found out after we went to Italy for the first time that whenever you're in, the touristy areas, you're by the Trevi Fountain, you're in one of the big piazzas or close to some big monument that is well known, you're going to see a ton of the restaurants around. And with those restaurants, you're going to see these plastic menus on a stand outside, or a plastic menu in the window. That, my friends, is the tourist area. So if you notice that, chances are the food is not going to be as authentic. It's not going to be as good. It might be a little bit more westernized, even just because they know tourists like it. You might get I was going to say bangers and mash, but that's a UK thing. You might get your bacon and eggs and your sausage and like a huge hearty meal, but it's not going to be authentic to that area. So I do agree with this one. Research beforehand. If you really are a foodie, or you just want to try some food that's, custom to the locals, make sure you just don't look for the plastic menus. That's the big one. It really is, in Europe anyway. Use local supermarkets. Definitely, especially if you're spending 2 or more nights in one spot. That is the best and coolest experience, because you're going to hear the locals their day-to-day business. They're going to be out shopping. You're going to hear people talking in whatever language they're speaking. You're going to be able to see unique fruits and vegetables that you probably don't have here in Canada. So it is a really fantastic way to immerse yourself. And if you can even pick up a couple phrases or write a list beforehand of how to say eggs, certain fruits in that language, and write it in English, write it in that language. And then when you go, kind of point at it and just ask where it would be, and they can show you around. Absolutely fantastic way to immerse yourself. Local supermarkets, put that on the list if that's the type of trip you're wanting. Carry a refillable water bottle. Yes, this is very, very important. However, again, it depends where you're going. We went to Sri Lanka. Love Sri Lanka. Want to go back. Cannot wait to go back. It was a fantastic trip. They use water bottles everywhere, and it is so hot. Like, I'm talking 45 to 50 degrees, humid. Well, it's with humidity. Hot, hot, hot. So we brought water bottles, but then they became a pain in our ass because we'd have to carry an empty water bottle everywhere, or we'd use the water bottle to fill with the plastic water bottle. So if you're trying to be sustainable with the refillable water bottle, in places like Sri Lanka, it's very hard because there's not a lot of drinking water really anywhere. The water bottles are extremely cheap, like 50 cents for like a liter, like so cheap. But it's one of those things you got to kind of weigh out again what your trip's going to look like if you can buy that and have in your hotel because you're there a while. We bounced around every single night somewhere new, so it really didn't work out for us that way, unfortunately. So yeah, again, research where you're going for that one. Travel overnight. This is always fun. So if you have the option of flying somewhere for an hour, or you could go on an overnight train ride somewhere for maybe 12 hours, 16 hours, something like that. It's different. It's adventurous. Usually there's different cabin classes. So you can pick if you actually want a better, you're okay sleeping upright, sitting. But that is a really fun way to travel. I mean, it's different, of course. If you don't like that, then definitely don't do it. Definitely don't do it. I'm trying to think of when I've traveled overnight, but I mean, one that was like super, super cool, but it's only really if you're wanting to be on a boat traveling overnight, was when we were in Italy. We went to Bari, and then we went from Bari over into Greece. And that was an overnight ferry. I was traveling again on a Kentucky tour. And originally we're not going to have any rooms because you can book like a room on the ferry and upgrade to it, but they didn't have any available. So all of us kind of were like, okay, I guess we'll just sleep on the floor and the chairs, whatever. They had a little movie theater on board, which was pretty cool. And then some people ended up getting upgraded. It was kind of like a first come, first serve, whoever was on the list thing. So we ended up getting a cabin, which is fantastic. So yeah, it's just different. It's a unique way to go, and you're not crammed in a plane. So if you are open to it, definitely. Another travel tip from the Google, go off season. Yeah. Do I agree with this one? Okay, I agree with go off season because it's cheap. It's usually going to be cheap. You're going to have a lot less tourists and travelers around, which means a lot of places will be wanting to fill. They will want to, they want people to come in and off season. So yeah, I agree with it. But my hesitation is, what if there's hurricanes that during off season? What if it's really shitty weather? It's a thought, but you really need to research into the location of where you're going and see if that actually is going to work for you. Because it's one thing to have a cheap trip. It's another thing to have a miserable trip. And if you could, go not in a full off season, but maybe at the cusp or maybe at the end of spring break when everyone else is leaving, you still go during a time when weather is still really good and you're going to get better rates because they know all the tourists are gone. So that one, I don't 100% agree to always go off season, but definitely do your research, see what makes sense, and then decide. Next one is don't only follow guidebooks. Yeah. And like guidebooks, even these days, everything's online, right? I personally love blogs. I love getting an idea of what's happening in that place that I'm visiting and then Googling things to do in that area. And then just researching. Again, everything's research. And that's half the fun of travel. Half the fun of travel is the research. It's finding something in a book or online or hearing it from someone else and then actually experiencing it for yourself. That is the magic of travel. When I was a travel agent, we sold pieces of paper, but we also sold the idea and the vision of what you would see when you're there. So don't only follow guidebooks, for sure. That's one opinion. Do you only get one opinion when you're going to buy a car or a house? Do you only get one opinion when you're going to, looking for a tattoo artist? No, of course not. I mean, you could if you already knew, but anyways, I digress. Yes. Don't only look at guidebooks. Agreed. Ask locals for advice. Hell yeah. Ask locals. That is one of the best things. And guess what? You're not always going to get a friendly local. Okay. Not everyone is as happy go lucky as us Canadians. Okay. There's not every local is going to want to give you advice. So as long as you have that in mind, but you're open to asking, you never know what you're going to find. Case in point, we were in Paris, France, and it was an interesting first impression. Got there, super rainy, ended up getting a taxi from the hotel, the airport to go to the hotel. Cab driver did not want to chit chat. There was no hi, how are yous. There was where are you going in French, I think is what he said. It could have been something way different. And then I pointed to on the paper and said, Rue, something, something. And he shook his head and just drove. And I was like, oh, how's your night? Nah, nothing. Stone cold. This guy could have been a soldier. Okay. There was nothing coming out of him. So anyways, that was that. Then we get to the hotel. We end up checking in. And it was around like a 4-star in Paris. And you got to remember, here's a tip. If you're going to Paris or you're going to France, a lot of the time, in Paris, a lot of the time, the 4 stars in Paris are not anything that you would get in North America 4-star. Okay. It is not the same. So we got there. It was pretty dated. It's pretty dingy. I think they still had the old sheets on the beds. It was an experience. So got out of there real quick to go find some place to eat. So asked the reception, hey, just curious where you think we should go eat. I don't know. Just go find some food. Yeah, that was the response. So yes, ask locals. Don't expect them to want to talk to you though. Not everyone does. And that's totally fine. That's normal. That's life. But I've also had some really cool advice from locals too. And normally when asking a local, like my favorite thing to do is when we're out, if we're at shopping, so you can ask the people that are, selling different things that you're purchasing, or if you are going to a restaurant, sit at the bar. Sometimes you find other travelers even at the bar and you can have your meal there. You can strike up a conversation. That's a great way. And then bartenders like talking to everyone. So of course you can ask a bartender for advice or a server at a restaurant. So there's different ways. And if you get even cabbies, you can still ask cabbies for advice. New York City, complete opposite experience for taxis. And they love talking about their city. So proud to be a New Yorker and talk about what they have and where we're going to go and what we're going to see and restaurants they recommend. So don't be afraid to ask. I love that one. That's a great one. This one, pack spare change of clothes on your carry-on. Yeah, great idea. Do I do it? No, sure don't. Have I ever needed anything? No. And that's a funny, odd fact. So I don't actually do this. I really haven't ever. My mom does it all the time. She travels to Hawaii a lot. And I've always just trusted that my bags are going to arrive. Maybe that's a little naive, but they have. So 37 countries, I haven't really had to worry about it. However, as far as them arriving, what I have had is baggage. I've never lost a bag, but I have had a bag rip. So being more of a material fabric versus a hard, the front of it ripped. I didn't lose anything because nothing was in the front pocket, but it was super pain. And going through the airports, everyone would stop me to tell me that my bag was open, but it wasn't. It was just the zipper was broken. Anyway, so there was that. And then the other one that's super creepy, so creepy. I'm going to take a quick little swig of my creepy flute glass. So creepy. Ended up checking a bag last minute because it didn't fit in the carry-on, going from Kelowna here to Los Angeles. It was via Seattle. And on the other end in Los Angeles, got my bag, ended up going to the hotel room. And I noticed real quick, all of my underwear was gone. All of it. Nothing. I had a couple new ones in there, couple old ones. I had some big ones. I had some small ones. I had all the underwear and they were all gone. So we figure that somebody went into the bag and stole my underwear and, walked around with like 8 pairs of underwear in their pockets for the rest of their shift. Yeah, real interesting. So That's my experience. Definitely, if you're going somewhere and you really want to have a toothbrush, certain face cream, if you have the smaller sizes, toothpaste, especially if you're going in late. If you're arriving late and you lose your bag, the last thing you're going to want to have to do is go to a 7-Eleven or grocery store to try to pick and buy things that you need. So keep that in mind too. If you're arriving late, definitely pack more items just so you're going to be comfortable on the other end for sure. Next travel tip from the Google: wash your clothes in the sink. Yeah, definitely. Why not? Especially if they're smelling. I always recommend to do your launder everything, wash everything before you pack. So at least you have things clean. You can wash them or wear them a few times. But if you are, kind of sweaty like I am, I'm a sweaty Italian. It just is what it is. I I have to go through my clothes a little bit quicker. So yeah, washing them in the sink. You can buy little, real small like detergent sheets that you can kind of like turn into soap in the sink and you can wash things. I remember we were in Sri Lanka, and again, it was really quick trip, like one night in each place. I wish we had longer. I just couldn't fit it in for what we were doing. But we went into this one hotel. It was beautiful. I was like, yep, definitely time to wash some, underwear and some socks. Started doing that, and then quickly realized the whole hotel is surrounded by wild monkeys. And there's signs on all the windows saying, do not open the windows. Monkeys will come in. Monkeys will steal things. No window opening. So we ended up, I think, washing our things. And like, when I say underwear, I'm talking men's boxers, okay? Boxer briefs. So these are like a lot of fabric versus my underwear. So we washed them. The socks are hanging. They were in the bathroom. The next day, of course, they were still not dry. So I tried to, hair dry them. Didn't work well. Thankfully, we brought a plastic bag. Another tip: always have some sort of, it doesn't have to be plastic, but some sort of, it should be something that will hold water in. So we ended up doing that and just had our soggy underwear. So there's some underwear stories. Very exciting. Packing. So when you're packing, the next tip is roll your clothes. I 1000% agree with this. I don't know how my packing was. I can't even remember what my packing was like before I learned about rolling your clothes. It is one of the most important ways to save space in your suitcase, and everything just kind of tucks in so nicely. You can roll, if you bring hats, you can roll the clothes and then you kind of tuck them into the middle of the hat so your hat stays in form. Great way to pack. And also the travel cubes. The Google did not tell me that, but I am a big fan of the travel cubes because you can have one for your shirts, one for, pants, and they all seal and they kind of suction closer. So really, really handy to have for those too. Oh, what else do we got here? Wet wipes recommendation on a plane. Wet wipes in general. I think that's a fantastic idea. Hand sanitizer is great. Wet wipes, even better. Like, I'm talking the sanitizer wipes. So essentially they come in a pack of, 20 or 30. So whenever we go on an airplane, I'm one of those neurotic people, even before 2020, that would wipe everything down, because you got to do the math on this. Okay. I've thought long and hard in airports, staring at planes. When the plane comes in to the gate and you watch all the people come off of that said plane, and then maybe 20 minutes later, they start calling to board said plane. Now, quick math: 20 minutes, 150 seats, plus 20 minutes, 150 seats. 4 stewards. It's not really adding up for me. There's no way that they're doing incredible wipe downs of every single seat. Okay, not happening. So wet wipes I started to bring. My disgusting story that I will tell you is a flight from, where was I going? Toronto to Berlin. Okay. Toronto to Berlin. And Berlin, Germany, and ended up wiping the back headrest of my seat, as I always do. And I pulled the wet wipe in front of me and it was pitch black. Like, I'm talking black. It was so dirty that I looked at someone across the way. I was going on a work trip, and I looked over and showed it and was like, does anybody need a wet wipe? And the person next to me was like, I don't know you, but can I have one? I was like, absolutely. You are sitting next to me. You definitely deserve a wet wipe. Okay. You definitely do. But yeah, so the back of the headrest, the seat belt, the tray, the armrest, basically all the high touch areas, the little turny thing that opens the tray, things like that. And it just makes me feel a little bit more comfortable when on the plane. So that's my wet wipe story. Hard suitcase versus soft suitcase. So this was some tips on which one's better. I feel that I've done the hard suitcase before and it was fine. It's great. The problem is the suitcase gets very scuffed. So that's why when you're at an airport and everybody has black suitcases, I'm more than positive that's why, because they get scuffed so bad. They're getting thrown around, thrown on the trolley things at the airport and off. They're getting handled all over. They're on conveyor belts. So hard is good. Hard suitcases are great. And they're really nice because, of course, you don't have to worry too much about things squishing. So if you're bringing back a bottle of liquids or alcohol or something, you can have more peace of mind with the hard suitcase. I have had a hard suitcase crack before while traveling, had to throw it away on my trip and buy a new one. And I currently have a soft suitcase, still the one with the broken zipper. I now safety pin it because I don't feel like buying a new one and I really like it, but I think it's probably time, or I should fix the zipper, one of the two. So I'm back to the soft side and I don't mind the soft side. I just make sure that if I have liquids in there, I'm properly protecting them with my rolled clothing. So you choose on that one. Jury's out for me. You choose. Leave room for things that you buy when you pack. Absolutely. I sometimes forget this. And from 2020, from traveling almost to three or four countries every year prior to 2020 to our first trip being in 2023 internationally, I forgot how to pack, you guys. I forgot. I literally packed almost my whole closet to go on a 10-day trip to Mexico. It was embarrassing. It was so embarrassing. I think I brought 4 pairs of shoes, 2 sandals. It was embarrassing. I forgot. So what I forgot clearly to do was leave room for things I wanted to buy. And I wanted to buy tequila at the duty free. So that was a whole thing. I wore a lot of clothes on the airplane back and had a really heavy carry-on. So to make room for that tequila. So, yeah, definitely leave room for what you're going to buy. One tip that I've actually heard that's not on the Google that someone told me, that I forgot, obviously from Mexico, is pack your bag and then remove half the items. Chances are you're only going to, and then you'll actually use those half of items if you remove the other half. I could probably do that, but then maybe remove like a quarter because I'd have enough excuses for the other quarter. So I would need at least 3/4, but it might be worth it to try. Try. What else do they've got here? Bring reusable bags. That is a good one, especially if you have a bulkier carry-on or backpack. I prefer to bring kind of like a beach bag if I'm going somewhere tropical, or a backpack if I'm going somewhere more active. That's my carry-on, and then I just use that everywhere. The reusable bags are nice though if you do want to go to a supermarket or store. And now the whole world's trying to go plastic bagless, which is fantastic. So excited when I heard that news. And we're even trying here more in Kelowna, which is really good. So yeah, bring a reusable bag or so. And the reason why I say that is because in Bali, it is really sad. You have water bottles everywhere. It's, over tourism at its finest. And I remember we were going to the ferry port to go over to the Gili Islands. And on the way, we went past this huge landfill and it was just covered in plastic bottles, plastic bags, and styrofoam. Really, really sad. So it's a reminder, definitely, to try to use reusable whenever you can. Next tip of the day, comfortable walking shoes. Yeah. Definitely comfortable walking shoes. I made the mistake of wanting to go El cheap and bought Ardene's or Claire's walking shoes, like runners and flip-flops. And I brought those on a European trip where we walked everywhere. My feet were so sore. I actually ended up in Spain buying a really nice pair of runners. And, with the conversion, of course, it was more than I probably would have spent here, but I needed them so bad. So yes, put that into your wardrobe. Comfortable walking shoes, comfortable sandals too, something with an arch support. Really important. Another tip, learn key phrases. Yes, always, whatever country you are going to, learn a key phrase, whether it's hello, thank you, goodbye. Do you know where is the bathroom? Literally anything you can do that is the most respectful thing, in my opinion, when you are traveling. It is fun to learn new languages, even if you fumble through it. They appreciate it. The locals appreciate it. And one of my favorite stories actually is I was in Japan and I was learning different phrases, and I was so excited because I learned one, and I don't know if I can fully remember now. It was Nihon wu subareshi kuni des. For whoever speaks Japanese out there, I am sorry because I may have butchered that, but it translates to Japan is a beautiful country. And I was so excited to say it. We went to this temple and this woman kind of smiled at me and said hello. And then I said hello to her and then I said it. And I was like, yeah. And she kind of looked at me and she smiled and she responded in English. And she said, oh, that was really nice. Thank you. And I was like, oh, I'm glad she responded in English, but clearly I couldn't fool her that I knew how to speak Japanese. So yes, definitely learn key phrases. I know nowadays there's so many apps out there, which that'll be another episode on all the different travel apps you can use that are helpful. But there are some amazing translator apps out there, which we'll get into another time. But that is really a great way to learn too. And, Duolingo, my mom, she is heavy into the Duolingo and she's going to Italy and she's going to, my dad was Italian, so it makes sense for her to already know some, but the Duolingo has helped so much. So yes, learn key phrases. Pack snacks. Hell yeah. If you like food like me, and if you know you're going to be going on long drives, you're going to be on long train rides, you're going to be on flights, the last thing you want to do is pay a premium at an airport for snacks. So yes, bring snacks and bring your favorite granola bars, little bags of popcorn, something that doesn't take up a lot of room. Bring those. You do not want to bring anything like dairy or meat. No, big no. You will not get past customs with anything like that. You can bring it. So if I'm leaving out of Canada and I'm going to another country, I can bring a sandwich on the plane, but I cannot land with the sandwich. So I would need to eat the sandwich on the plane. So anything with dairy, anything with meat, you have to consume it like literally in the air because once you land, they don't want anything like that in another country, which I don't blame them, right? Okay, so next one is ditch the sarcasm at the border control. This one kind of made me laugh, but it's true. And I like to be a little sarcastic sometimes, but the border control is one place you don't want to mess around ever. Where we were in Seattle going somewhere else, I think maybe New York, and border control said, oh, and looked at my passport and was like, oh, you're from Kelowna? Oh, there's a lot of drug dealers in Kelowna. And he looks at me, did you know that? And I looked at him like, no, I didn't know that. I'm not one of them. So why would I know that? Didn't really go over so well. And then he's like, why would you think that I was asked, or do you think I'm asking you that you're one of them? I'm like, no, I don't know. You just caught me off guard. I just wasn't expecting that. I don't know. I don't hang out with drug dealers. So I can't tell you if there's a lot. And he's like, and then he just started asking me other questions. It was super awkward. I made it though. I ended up getting through, but definitely ditch the sarcasm. Not a fun place. And also the TSA, they're there to do their job, and their job is to ask questions and to judge you. That is their job. So if you're being sarcastic, they're going to have a really hard time judging you, and they may judge you the wrong way. It's that simple. This one, haven't heard this tip, and I do really like it. Don't start a new book on a plane. Don't bring a physical new book on a plane that you've never read before or tried, or you just thought you would try. What if it sucks and you're on a 12-hour flight and you're 15 pages in and you think this is the worst book I've ever read? Now what? You're stuck lugging around this brick for your trip. So I thought that was really good advice. I like Audible. I like listening to the books, or if I do, or I'll bring a journal or something to write in that way. So different options for sure. A tip, obviously, travel insurance. It is so important. It is so important. The amount of times I've had to use travel insurance for trip interruption, for medical. I ended up in the hospital in Mexico, in Cancun. Fun fact, there's 2 different hospitals in Cancun. One is for tourists, one is for locals. I was in and out of that hospital so quick, really, really easy to be handled. But I'm glad I had the insurance because they paid for everything. I stubbed my toe really bad. Tequila volleyball, guilty. Yeah, real bad. It turned out it wasn't even broken. So that was just a fun excursion to the Cancun tourist hospital that was paid for by my travel insurance. So that is important. And then the trip interruption is a big one. There's been times where a flight is misconnect with another flight. And now we're stuck in a hotel, and your food, your drink, your accommodations are going to be reimbursed. So it's less stress when you're traveling. If you know something wrong happens and it's covered under insurance, you can get your money back. And that's something I told my mom when she was traveling too. I'm like, hey, something goes wrong, money can fix it, but it's even better if your insurance is at least going to pay you back. So that's a good one. And also I'm in commercial insurance, and we have a travel insurance department. So I know a lot about insurance and I've seen the benefits of it. That's for sure. Pack a scarf. Ooh, yeah, this one I like. Definitely pack a scarf because it can change the look of any outfit, even if you wear the same outfit for a couple days. And I have a couple scarves that have a little inside zipper. And it's a zipper that opens up and you can put, if you just want to go out for a quick, dinner or bite or whatever, and you don't want to bring a purse or a bag, you can fit sometimes you can fit your phone in it. You can fit a couple like IDs, credit cards, some cash. Great, great, great for traveling. This one I laughed a little because I've had to do this. So back up your phone. Back up your phone, back up your phone, back up your phone. I'm going to say that a lot because I am so thankful for the iCloud on my iPhone. When I lost my phone in Thailand, it was a full moon party. It was such a fun night. And the phone fell out of my pocket in the taxi on the way back to the Airbnb and it was gone. And the Airbnb host was incredible. She tried to help. She gave me the number for the local taxi service. It was so helpful. I tried everything I could. It was not recovered, but I realized real quickly that everything was in the cloud. It was all up there in the cloud. So I didn't have to worry so much or panic that I lost all of my photos, all of my notes, everything that was in there because it was in the cloud. So that was a really big eye opener for me. And funny thing happened. The phone, I put it on through iCloud. You log into your iCloud and then you can say it's lost. And whenever it hooks to Wi-Fi, I want it to wipe everything on my phone so that even if they can somehow get in, which they wouldn't be able to, I don't know, maybe they can, I'm no techie, that they would not be able to see anything. So we get a note and it notifies us when it's happened. So I attached that to my husband's phone so he would get a notification when we were back. It was like a month after we were back from Thailand. We get a notification. The phone was in Rome by the Trevi Fountain. I shit you not. It was the strangest thing. We were like, this is so weird, but at least we know the phone's been wiped and maybe a tourist grabbed it and brought it home. Like, I don't know. It was so weird. From Thailand to Rome. That was the journey of my phone. So that's a good one. A couple more here. We've got pack cold medications, diarrhea medications, and then bring your important meds in your carry-on. This is so important. Important daily medication or things that you need, those always go in your carry-on. If it's a prescription, make sure it's the prescription label from the doctor is on it. If you really want the doctor to write you a note, you can, but that is so important because if your bag is lost, you do not want to be out that important medication. Other ones though I like to bring is I do like to bring some Imodium for diarrhea. I like to bring some cold medications, some cough drops, because chances are with all the travels, you never know, you might pick up a bug. So it's nice to have something quick instead of having to go to a local pharmacy and hope you're getting something that you need. Thailand got really stuffed up, ended up going to the local pharmacy, asking and kind of saying my throat really hurts and my throat and they ended up giving us something all written in Thai. And then I guess like a few days later, one of the guys that we were traveling with looked at it and he kind of read it and was like, you know that you're taking, what was it? You know, you're taking like an antihistamine, like all you're taking is just something for allergies. And I'm like, oh, really? Because I feel much better. So clearly this placebo effect is working. You just never know. So yeah, pack those if you're going for a long time too. When at a resort or hotel, ooh, yeah, this is a good one, especially if you're doing an all-inclusive, but really anywhere. When you get your room key, typically it comes in a little packet that they have the name and they got the Wi-Fi code and they have your room number written on it. So whenever I get to a resort or hotel, I will actually obviously memorize the room number and then throw that key card or the pack away, the little cardboard pack, and I'll just keep the key cards. And this is something someone told me a long time ago, and thankfully, it's never been an issue. I've never really lost a room key that I can remember. But if you lose that whole pack, now someone has your room key with your room number and they know where to go. So if you just lose your room key, it is way less stressful because there's no room number on it. Nobody's going to be able to get into your room that way. So you can just go get a new room key unless they want to truck up and down all 8 floors and hit up 800 rooms to try to see which one happens to work. But once they actually change over your room card key, that old one won't work anyways. So just a little note on that to be prepared for if you do have that when you're traveling. And then the last one, don't overplan. Don't overplan. I'm so guilty of overplanning. My husband and I, when we first started dating, we got into quite a few arguments about all the plans I had made and all the things I wanted to do. And he's a very chill guy, super chill. And I love him for that because I am super like, go, 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 woo, woo, woo. Let's do all the things. For him, he really needs to have some down days and then he can go do something the next day and a down day. And I've learned to appreciate that because it actually helps me slow down and me take a lot in versus cramming your trip with something every day or multiple things each day. You're on a trip to also enjoy a different experience and a different lifestyle and people watch. Go and take in the sights, sit on a patio and just sit and enjoy. So try not to overplan, as exciting as it is, or can't do it all in this trip. You can always go and do it on the next one. So I hope these travel tips were super helpful for you. If you have any other ones, let me know. I am all about travel tips. I am happy to share them. You can always take a look at hashtag She Dares to Travel podcast. You can put them on there on any of the photos. Follow me on Instagram, She Dares to Travel. Shoot me a DM, make a comment on the YouTube. However you are watching, leave it in a review. Let me know your tips. I would love to hear from you. And really, these podcasts are here just to inspire you about travel. It is one of those things that are so incredible to talk about. Absolutely anybody can talk about travel, whether it's in your own local town or it's somewhere all over the world abroad. So again, thank you for joining me today. And until next time, fly straight. Thank you to Hotel Z Kelowna, Victoria, and Tofino for being our sponsor. You can also save 15% off your next getaway using the code DARES2, DARES 2, the number 2, at hotelz.com. These funky and unique hotels are in British Columbia, and they're going to have you not wanting to leave while you're on your next vacation. Enjoy! If you like this episode, please subscribe, download a few more, and leave a review. I really would love to hear from you, what you enjoyed and what your key takeaways were. And of course, please let me know if there's any aspect of the travel industry you want me to talk about next. You can also search for the hashtag She Dares to Travel podcast on Instagram and comment on the episode's post with your questions. I'd love to answer them all for you guys. I hope you enjoy your day, stay so well, and until next time, fly straight.